Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to cover yet another big budget flop.
It's tough out there. It's tough out there for fans of big budget franchises. They used to be king, and now they're all just falling on their face. It's been almost a decade since the last mainline Civilization game, but series developers Firaxis dropped a bomb harder than that vicious warlord Mahatma Gandhi.
A huge franchise fell on its face yet again. Really sounds like any given Inside Games Roundup, doesn't it? I mean, every week this happens. But we have a surprise for you this week. A highly anticipated sequel actually succeeded with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
First it's sour, and then it's sweet. That's Inside Games Roundup. Let's get into the news by throwing to the only staff reporter to be firmly questioned by local police over a rowdy game of Civilization, Brian Gaar.
I stand by my moves. That's all I have to say to the cops. But yes, Civilization 7 launched this week. Fans not happy. The game has a paltry 4.4 user score on Metacritic last time I checked, with user Mouse writing, "I've played Sid Meier's Civilization games for almost 30 years now, and while I think this game has great potential in the future, it feels very rushed, unfinished, unpolished, especially at this price point." Ouch.
It is very expensive. It's $70 just for the base game. For a while, the game had a mostly negative rating on Steam. The last time we checked it had improved somewhat to mixed. People's criticism revolves around the UI, which isn't great, which a lot of players just feel is incomplete and kind of clunky. And lots of players also say the game feels like a pre-alpha build.
Yeah, where they were calling it advanced access instead of early access. At least they're trying to change the branding a little bit. I don't know. Beyond the UI issues, players have also criticized the game's visual design, including the icons and just the overall art style. Yeah, I've saw like UI, like lines that just didn't match up. Another common complaint is the limited number of maps available at launch. Little man on the street comment here, user Lord Tiberian wrote, quote, "Played for several hours now and I can't connect to this product. Feels unpolished, below standard in graphics and UI."
It's good to know that the nobility still plays video games. But yeah, all this player backlash is in contrast with critical reception, and that was pretty good. Civ 7 currently has an 80 on Metacritic.
Yeah, the gamer wrote, quote, "Civilization 7 has completely surprised me. I was ready to hate the new Civilization and age system. I was ready to grumble at the sneaking live service features. Instead, I've fallen into a deep obsession with Civilization again."
Interesting. But not everybody was a fan. Eurogamer called it a competent entry with some poorly executed ideas and a striking lack of personality. That last part is kind of what rings the loudest for me. If it's Civ just another one, I don't know that I necessarily need that.
It is. So I played this game and I am not a Civilization diehard in the least. Like I played, Civ 6 and Civ 5, but like what, 10 hours of each or something, nothing. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I played. And so when I played it, I was like, oh, I could see myself going back to this. And then I saw the backlash of everybody so upset about it. So it's to me, this feels like people who have been like no-lifing Civilization for 25 years. And then all of a sudden they play this new one and they've made a few changes and people hate it. So I'm not saying the game isn't bad. I'm just saying for noobs like me, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it feels like all of these games, like Diablo, all of these big live servicey franchises or deep games, it's always this about these. They always have these complaints, and then they'll get ironed out, and 6 months from now, everybody will love it. That's kind of my read on it.
Yeah, I haven't played 7 yet, but from playing a lot of previous Civilizations, I can understand that usually a Civ game is extremely prestige when it launches. It's like walking into, the Delta Premium part of the airport where they have little free snacks out and stuff. So if the UI is not all buttoned up and pretty looking, and Gran Turismo kind of reminds me of this sort of experience too, where it's like you're in a really like a classy car dealership. So if it doesn't have that feeling, I can see why people would think that it's just not as premium of an experience this time around.
Yeah, it's like a top 10 franchise, I feel like, that's still ongoing. Just one of the real big ones. That's a great point.
Firaxis really they're working on it right away. Like they said they were going to address all the concerns and they're working on the UI and stuff like that. So credit to them. They were immediately responsive to the feedback. They weren't like, no, play our game. So that's good.
Moving on to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Much happier news. It is already profitable after 1 day. It sold an impressive 1 million copies within its first 24 hours. As of Thursday, the game was nearing 2 million sold, so great launch.
Also pretty cool that they can be profitable at that sales point. A little scrappy studio, Warhorse Studios' Medieval Europe action RPG sequel has been a big success since its February 4th launch. According to Embracer, very, very rare positive headline from Embracer, the game performed really well on Steam, hitting a peak of over 250,000 concurrent players. For comparison, the original Kingdom Come Deliverance peaked at about 96,000 concurrent players on Steam 7 years ago.
Man, that's great. That's a long time. Daniel Vavra, co-founder of Warhorse, spoke about the game's successful launch in an interview with Czech outlet Seznam Zapravi. I'm sure I didn't say that right. Quote, before the launch, we were betting in the studio on how many copies we would sell, Vavra said, according to a translation, and I won. I missed by 300 units. We're happy with the numbers, and if the trend continues at the same pace, it'll be great.
Reviews have been very strong. It's got an 88 on Metacritic. Destructoid wrote, the year just started, so it's too early to be talking about Game of the Year, but for me, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is already at the very least a contender.
Yeah, I only just finished the first one, but I think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is hitting at the exact right time. I think people are getting a little exhausted with games that are boring or maybe just a little too conciliatory to the player. And Kingdom Come Deliverance is anything but friendly to the player. So I think it really stands out against 10 years of games that just can't wait to jerk you off as hard as they can.
It's a great video game. I've played about 20 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and apart from modding out the save system, it is just a blast. I have had so much fun.
Yeah, that save system, woof.
The save system, it's pretty rough. But regardless, they had it in the first one, so everybody kind of knows what it was. Either way, the game itself is just, the exploration is just beautiful. The writing's fantastic. The ambience is just amazing. Honestly, it's just a really good video game.
You love to see it. People buying games they love to play and then sharing that love on the internet. Bit of a rarity, but here's a theoretical for you. What if you bought a lot of games that, I don't know, PlayStation said you weren't allowed to play?
Yeah, remember the PlayStation Network being mysteriously down last week? That sucked, right? Well, Sony blamed the outage that was nearly 20 hours to an operational issue. They didn't provide any details on what caused it, writing on X, network services have fully recovered from an operational issue. We apologize for the inconvenience and thank the community for their patience.
The outage affected players worldwide, preventing logins, online play, and access to the PlayStation Store. And also somebody couldn't even pair a disc drive to their PlayStation. Sony kept mostly quiet during the downtime, offering only minimal updates until the services were fully restored.
But now they're trying to make amends. We're all getting our goodies now. Every PlayStation Plus member gets a 5-day subscription extension.
The outage definitely harkened back to past PSN disruptions, including the notorious 2014 holiday attack by Lizard Squad, that hacking group. That took the network offline for 4 whole days, and millions couldn't get their games or register new consoles. But yeah, wasn't this one like a Friday or a week? Because I remember reading somebody posted on Twitter, I've been working all week and I get home and the PlayStation Network's down.
Yeah, it was Saturday. The worst possible day. That's the Gamer's Day. We needed that one.
Yes.
Man, Lizard Squad. Remember when you dared Lizard Squad into hacking machinima.com?
Did they do it?
Yeah, it was like the day they were relaunching the website.
Oh, they did? Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Wait, did that really happen?
We were covering the PSN outage and like, whether it was a bit or not, Bruce was like calling them out in the video. So they fished.
It was a bit, but yes.
Oh, okay. It still worked. Yeah. Apparently they fished one of Machinima's executives, just got the admin password off of him, and then took the website down on the day that they had this big grand relaunch for machinima.com. And yeah, people were pretty livid at us in the office, but we didn't do it. We just dared them to do it, and they did.
You know what? Lizard Squad, they continually prove themselves that they're the best in the business.
Yeah.
Lizard Squad, if you're listening, please take my company's website down.
Wait a minute, hold on, Brian. You have a
terrible Trump.
That was Trump. Oh, I was like, do you have a company website? Okay.
All right, let's finish on a bummer of a layoff story. The wave of job losses sweeping the industry sadly continues. Unity, Crytek, and Hi-Res Studios all cut staff.
Unity has once again reduced its workforce, with employees receiving notification emails as early as 5 a.m. It's not a fun notification to wake up to. Reports say that multiple teams were affected, but the exact number of layoffs remains unclear. It's another blow for the company, which has faced ongoing turmoil. In January of last year, Unity cut 25% of its workforce, which was around 1,800 employees. And before that, it laid off 265 folks in November of 2023. Many have blamed Unity's struggles to the backlash over the company's runtime fee policy, which initially intended to charge developers a small fee for every download of a Unity game, but led to widespread developer boycotts.
Meanwhile, Crytek announced layoffs of about 60 employees. The cuts impact both development teams and shared services following the studio's decision to put the next Crysis installment on hold. Crytek has since shifted its focus to Hunt Showdown 1896, which is still going and still very successful. Extraction shooter long before they were popular. While the company said it remains committed to Hunt Showdown, they acknowledged that the studio could not continue operating as before while remaining financially viable.
And finally, Smite developer Hi-Rez Studios also has had layoffs significantly impacting its subsidiaries Rally Here, Evil Mojo Games, and Titan Forge Games. The company said in a message that this was a difficult decision aimed at ensuring the long-term sustainability of our studios. So yeah, that's a bummer. GamesIndustry.biz said at least 20 staffers lost their jobs.
It's funny, even the reporting agency here underwent layoffs a couple of months ago. GamesIndustry.biz themselves lost basically their entire news reporting staff. So if you look on their front page now, you basically see all the reports from one or two writers who are doing the Lord's work and slogging through a bunch of investor reports and quarterly earnings to actually pull out decent headlines. So I'm a big fan of their work. We cite it a lot here because this is the kind of news we report on. So not only did Hi-Rez get hit, but the actual reporting agency that reported on it also got hit. That's how bad it is out there. Anyway, it all sucks. Moving forward, Hi-Rez said that it will prioritize Smite 2, which is currently in early access, while halting updates for Smite 1, Paladins, and Rogue Company. Damn. Another interesting trend you see here with Crytek and also Hi-Rez is once the air starts leaving the room, every project that isn't live service gets cut immediately. And because that's the last thing that can really keep your company afloat, the last thing that might blow your revenue up and get you out of a slump. So I just remember when we worked for media companies, Bruce and I, they would always work themselves into a corner where they had to bet the farm on a very particular kind of project because they already owed money on everything else that didn't play out. So yeah, you kind of get your strategy dictated for you sometimes, which sucks to see.
All right, let's do a 5-second review. All right, Civ 7, I've just started. The UI is a little sketchy, but I played every Civ since it was on MS-DOS, so I love it. Even though it's still got the long tutorial, I'm stoked. I love Civ games. I love being a terrible, ruthless leader.
Who's the narrator this time around?
I actually don't know. I played as Harriet Tubman, by the way, and I was militaristic Harriet Tubman, and it was awesome.
What if Harriet Tubman had machine guns? I played the one where Leonard Nimoy was the narrator a lot.
All right, Lawrence, this is your corner.
Ryan's got 5-second reviews. I have almost 5 previews because there's 4 games. I went to a Raw Fury publisher preview event, and they showed off some of the games they have coming out in the next couple of months. And here they are, a little preview corner. First is a game called Craftlings, which is basically Lemmings, except you don't have a limited number of the little guys that run around and get themselves killed. Basically, you just assign jobs to all your little mans. They run back and forth across this 2-dimensional playfield, and then they do jobs according to their task, whether that's chopping wood or mining rocks. And then they deposit that, and your structures upgrade as they get resources invested. So the idea is you basically automate all your little dudes to go around, harvest your resources, upgrade your town while you progress in the stage or build stuff out. It's kind of like a low-stress Sea Monkeys kind of experience. Next up, we got a game called Knights in Tight Spaces, which is a medieval-themed version of Fights in Tight Spaces that came out back in May 2023. This is a deck-building tactical game where you use martial arts moves to clear rooms of medieval goons. And at the end, basically, you see all your moves kind of flowing in one sequence, so you get a cool John Wick-style brawl in a medieval tavern where dudes are choke-slamming each other through tables and getting kicked through windows. It's good stuff. Next up, a game called Post Trauma. This is really fascinating to me because it's exactly in the style of Silent Hill 4 specifically. It is a hybrid fixed third-person survival horror game, but also has first-person segments where you're exploring a increasingly haunted space. And, in the vein of Silent Hill, you're playing a protagonist that has some kind of internal trauma or turmoil that's being projected out into the world in the form of hideous sex monsters. The puzzles were surprisingly difficult too, again in the vein of a classic Silent Hill. a lot of clues baked into the environment that don't necessarily have a glowing light or a blinking thing shining on them. So it's neat, and I'm looking forward to it. I like the twisted games, and it looks pretty messed up. Finally, Blueprints. So I'm really, really excited for this one. I love Silent Hill, and that woke me up, but this one really, really excited me. So this is a deck builder Myst-like kind of game. The premise is you've inherited a mansion from your deranged millionaire uncle, but to keep it, you've got to find the 46th room in a 45-room mansion. You get to this mysterious room by placing down rooms as you go. Each one is kind of like a puzzle piece that directs you and has exits that lead out from it. But the rooms themselves also generate resources. So the idea is you basically have like a deck of rooms. Every time you walk up to a door, you have to place the room that goes behind it. And then you have to account for worming your way to the end, but also balancing resources like keys or gems you need to unlock stuff. The real hook is that there's a hidden narrative that's gradually revealed through your exposure to the game. So you'll get notes and environmental clues in some of the rooms that you randomly generate, and that'll all eventually recontextualize into a larger narrative that will give you the information you need to successfully navigate this dreamlike house. There's also castle grounds around the house. So the house layout resets every day, and that's kind of how you play rounds, but the grounds stay the same. So as you're progressing through the house, you'll learn stuff or gain abilities that'll help you navigate the grounds, and then get permanent upgrades like the ability to travel more in a given day or place more rooms, etc., etc. It's basically Hades, but without the combat and more exploration, which is why I think it's going to really hit. For people that maybe got a little too ground down by the twitch intensity of Hades, this is more of a relaxed kind of exploration game. Plus, it's always fun to just root through rooms in a house. I don't know, it's one of the core video game pleasures. So, Blueprints, I'm really excited for and looking forward to. And thank you, Raw Fury, for giving us a look at some upcoming games.
All right, let's talk about the video games coming up this week. First up, Avowed. It's a first-person fantasy RPG set in the world of Eora, where you're a mushroom face, where your choices carve a path through war, intrigue, and ancient mysteries, and also mushrooms. Navigate a land in turmoil, forge powerful alliances or deadly rivalries, and wield magic and steel to shape the fate of the living lands, and your own destiny. It comes to PC and Xbox Series X, February 18th.
Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. Embark on a new narrative journey by the creators of Life is Strange. Film your summer of 1995. Crush on Alanis Morissette and create memories of a lifetime with your new friends. 27 years later, confront the dark secrets that made you all promise to never speak again after that fateful summer. Oh no, Alanis. Comes to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, February 18th.
Oh, I was hoping to read this one. HPL Nyarlathotep. There we go. Dive deep into the twisted H.P. Lovecraft universe with this oversized narrative RPG. Slip into the intertwined souls of Mark, Anna, and Victor, surrounded by cult worshippers as Nyarlathotep, the cosmic horror, strives to enslave humanity in 1929. HPL Nyarlathotep Rising comes to PC on February 19th.
Nicely done. Die in the Dungeon. Fight your way through a mysterious dungeon in this deck-building, turn-based roguelike game. Boy, that's every single buzzword. Where you don't use cards, but dice. Deal with enemies by combining powerful dice on your board, boost their effects with magical relics, and risk it all, hoping for a good roll on unexpected encounters. Comes to PC, February 21st.
Good roundup this week. I don't know. Every week we tend to report on layoffs. It sucks. But that makes us increasingly grateful that we have a dedicated group of supporters to keep the show going. It's, I don't want to jerk us off too much, but games media is kind of weird right now. People can do whatever they want out there. But we like to focus on actual news, the trends that actually guide the industry, and information that isn't twisted around, fitting a weird cultural narrative that often has very little to do with the games themselves. So just wanted to say, whether you're watching the show for the first time, you've been watching us for decades now, sheesh, or you've decided to support us directly via Patreon, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. A big, hearty thank you from me and, of course, Brian Gaar. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this for you for as long as we have. Speaking of direct support, we have some patrons on the Inside Games Patreon that ensure we can keep on keeping on. Matt Bogenberger, Wesley Mullins, Pablo Garcia, Just a Chair, Cash Putnam, UESC Battleroyd, J. Embers87, and Kyle Heaton.
Yes, and I've got some more patrons that have made the bravest decision of all. Give us money. Thank you, Brian Cosner, Sherwin Sanchez, Alex Stone, Monkey Butlers, Daniel Higgins, Evan S. Compton, Jonathan Lenowski, and Brown Sugar. Thank you very, very much.